Head trauma, where if head trauma had a podcast, it would sound like this. Humna. I don't know.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We're very excited about tonight's show because we have a guest. Well, tonight we have two guests that are returning, and Matt Hymas is running for school board on the Republican ticket. So I'm very excited to have him. And on that note, ballots are out. So regardless of what party you're voting for, make sure that you check your mailbox. They went out on the 15th. And if you have registered to vote and haven't received your ballot, get in touch with the county clerk through her website or call and just make sure your ballot is ready and that your information is ready. But Matt is a very good friend. He is an amazing principal and administrator at Excelsior, which is a charter. And he is the incumbent. So he's been serving on the school board and had our guest last week who we got to know well. And she was a fantastic guest. We had a really great time. And something that I can say is that I'm a parent of kids who benefit from the principles and the policy that Matt himself has integrated into the school. And his staff is tremendous. The values that they teach the kids are tremendous. So he lives by example. And so I love knowing personally that the incumbent, yes, he has to work with everyone. It's 15 people on the panel, but he doesn't just say, he does. And he's practiced what he preaches. You can see it evident in the school and the success of the school and the success of the students leaving that school. So I'm really excited to have him on. And I know it's busy and everyone's on break this weekend. And so I would like to thank him. And we also will have Cari Bartholomew, who's been on the show before, both for her run at school board before, and you've had her on even before that. So she's coming on tonight, and which is exciting because she is representing Moms for American Action. And they're doing a big kickoff event on the 24th of October, and we want to learn all about it. So we know there's a lot of parents that watch the show and they don't all live in Tooele County. So for those of you tuning in right now from everywhere, we welcome you. It's been one hell of a week.
Yeah, it's well, man, there's a lot of news to get to, but because of our stacked show tonight, we really won't be able to cover it. But how about that Hymas leader?
Wow.
Finding his little bit of comeuppance. I mean, you know what? Regardless of how you feel about it, that's the life he chose to live, and that's the life he received.
And let's just be honest. We talked last week about robots potentially fighting, in future wars. If this wasn't, and I mean, you had Israel watching from a distance and controlling these drones that actually took him out, and you didn't have anyone get hurt that wasn't necessarily supposed to get hurt in that action.
Yeah.
So that's a blessing, and Israel's handling their business. Did you see the Trump roast? I mean, after Kamala Harris's interview with Fox and Brett Baird, I thought, well, that was terrible. That's got to be bad. But then to see Trump do his roast at the dinner, they usually do the press dinner on behalf of the Catholic, community. She couldn't be bothered to show up to that.
Oh, shocking. And
Trump, he just did a great job. So he was very humble. I think it was important that he was. He's also been very honest about feeling like he shouldn't even be here because of the assassination attempt on his life, and that he felt that God intervened. And so I think that side of Trump is important to see, and I'm happy to see it.
I've been wondering after that, and I kind of think it's probably true that he's probably became more spiritual.
Yeah, well, if he has or he hasn't, we'll never know, right? I mean, that's something between you and God. But the recognition of it and the fact that he freely, openly talks about it, whereas in 2020, actually 2016, he didn't really have that sincerity when he talked about God or the Bible or any of that. Now he sees that there's actually been some intervention there on his behalf, and it's only driven him further to try to make America great again, in his words. So if you haven't gotten a chance to see the roast, it's everywhere, especially on X, but I recommend it. It's funny, it's lighthearted, and then he ends it by saying, you know, I feel bad because the state our country is in. I don't really feel like joking around or anything, but I know this is an important dinner, and I just, you know, it's all in good fun. I mean, I enjoyed it tremendously. In fact, I'll share it. But if you're not on X, the link I have is an X link. If I share it on our page, if you're not on X, I recommend getting on X if you're not, even if you're not really into politics. I think it is a pretty free speech platform right now.
It's the only free speech platform right now. The only one that's successful. I mean, Rumble has had some hiccups with free speech, but it's still growing. It's really not successful, by the way. Check us out on Rumble and KMMU.
Main Street Media,
Utah's best way to find it. They're on Rumble as well. And but yeah, it's the last one. And right now the Democrats are trying to drag Trump for only getting, 7 million viewers for his interview on Fox, but Kamala's interview got 15. But I don't think they understand that people are watching Kamala's interview for different reasons, because it is a train wreck and it is hilarious. But without further ado, let's bring Matt Hymas on. Want to give him an hour to tread through these waters and get his voice and message out there. So let's bring him in. Matt, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. How are things?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you letting me be here tonight.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's great to see you. It's great. How are you enjoying your fall break?
Well, you know, yesterday was better than today, but it's cold and windy out there.
Yeah.
It's an abrupt change. So, but yeah, being home and relaxing, hanging out with the kids that you don't get to every now and again. They're all teenagers. So when they're cooped in, I get to hear their voices more.
It's kind of nice, isn't it? I mean, when they're little, it can be exhausting, but then you look back and wish that you could just go back to those days, because eventually it's hard to get them all in one place at one time and actually have to communicate with you.
Or it's another nightmare and they don't ever shut up.
Oh.
But you miss it. I think you miss it. You miss that part. I think when you're going through it, it's a nightmare. But then you fast forward a few years when, you know, they don't call, or you don't ever have them in the same time, the same place. And you're like, are they not giving you grandkids to spoil?
Well, we don't need to talk about any of that tonight. Don't need to drag me through the mud. But anyways, Matt, how's the election feeling? How's it going for you?
Yeah, I think things are going well. We've had some good conversations, getting the word out there. Have some good interviews. I've been to some events where with my opponent, they've asked some good questions that have really shown the separation between the two of us. So I'm always appreciative of that. That's kind of the hard part with the primary, is that the Republican candidates really agree on a lot of the same things, and with my opponents as well in the primary and in convention, we had a lot of the same things we wanted to do. It was just how we do them. That was the main difference, right? You know, how do we work with people? How do we get things done? But here in the general election, you really see the differences. And you kind of see that in the general overall presidential election as well, right? I mean, when you hear these presidential debates on the Republican side, it's like, yeah, we know that you're different. You all have kind of similar ideas. You run a similar platform. But then when you have President Trump going against Kamala Harris, it's like just eye-opening what the differences are. So anyway, similar thing, not of course not nearly the scale, but it's been nice to be able to, again, have those discussions where we say clearly Matt Hymas is different from his Democratic opponent.
Well, and we actually had your opponent on Friday last week, and she is an easy person to like. She's a lieutenant colonel, which is extraordinary, and a teacher. We really enjoyed the interview, him being a historian and all, and she was very, very kind. I have to say that if you're going to have an opponent, have someone that is kind, who's patriotic, who believes in the kids. She's a teacher like you are. And so I think that I appreciate the two people running. Both are parent, like you have to work with parents. You have to understand, what you've got to understand as far as curriculum goes, policy, the legislature, exactly what your jobs are. I appreciate that. And, I wish her all the best, of course. But I love that you are actually putting all your ideas into play. What you talk about is something that you actually input into the school that you are running. And as a parent of that school, I feel like my kids are benefiting a lot from the conservative values that you have put in there. I mean, when you see, do unto others or, something along those lines on the walls of your school, your Veterans Day assembly, the patriotism that you teach, love of country, love of each other, and then the individual spirit, the entrepreneurial spirit, and the 7 habits, of highly successful people. That is all integrated into a school that you're the administrator of. And I think it's highly successful. And you do set yourself apart from other members of the board, which to me is awesome. I think Tooele County has benefited from your service. And I think that as the incumbent, I think that you've been a phenomenal representative. You've been a wonderful representative of the values that our county and even West Valley City and the other part of the district that you represent. I think that people are probably, now that we are in crunch time, I mean, we're a few weeks away. I think people are seeing the differences. And though you're both fantastic people, I think you're an excellent candidate, and I'm very excited, and I hope that we have a big win.
Yeah, so do I. And I appreciate the feedback and the compliment. My style, I worked in West Valley for 10 years trying to do the same thing, right? Lead by example. If I'm going to want to see it in a school, I'm going to want to see it in my school first. And so, and we found that with the school that I was in West Valley, the school that I am in now, that the people appreciate what's happening and they see it. And not everybody fits into the school where I'm at, but that's okay. And we can make things better for everybody, right? And so we can work at the state level, working with lawmakers, working with policy, and say how can we make this most beneficial for students? And that's what it's always been about for me. You've got some individuals who only want to hear or only are trying to help the system. And in my opinion, the best way to help the system is to empower the parents, give them a voice, because they want their students or their children educated. And that's how we're going to get things done, is by educating children and putting that above all. At my school, we don't have all of the programs that a typical district school would have. Yet we can educate and see better results because we're focusing on what we think matters, and that's academics. That's teaching them to read, to write, to problem solve through mathematics. Those things, I know I've said them before, but that's truly what we want for our kids, is to give them a chance. And when they come away as critical thinkers, And I'm not saying there's a direction on that. We don't try to pump out Republicans or Democrats or whatever. We try to pump out critical thinkers, kids who can gather information from everywhere and then make a decision on their own, similar to what the two of you have done. Nobody told you had to do this. This is a belief that you have, and this is a belief that I have. And I've been able to be taught by good educators in the public system and come out a critical thinker and be able to make choices on my own and not be influenced by the loudest voice or the strongest wind, right?
Mhm.
It's true.
Be able to hear, gather information, and make good choices. And that's what we want for our kids as well. We don't want them to come away saying, well, Mr. So-and-so told me I should do this, so that's what I'm going to do. Right?
Yeah.
So
the biggest stark difference I've seen between the two of you, really, that shocked me, and I'm not going to use this as a pulpit, although I want to, is she has a tendency to stand up for and to praise the efforts of the federal government's efforts and lay all them on say shine the patina on, say, the Department of Education and what have you on the way down. And you're like, and your voice is always empower the parents. And, I could rehash it again. I mean, the Department of Education, it came around in 79. And every year since then, the United States report card on public schools has gone down and down. We went from number 1 and now we're 28th, I think, this year. And in just about, we lose a point every 2 years. And I think that's a corruption from the federal government. You can't have an institution that's corrupt design a system, and what it produces is not going to be corrupt.
Yeah. Let me jump in here, Jared, because I learned an interesting statistic the other day. You're right about America. America's got its challenges, but let me tell you something about Utah. Utah just received the notification that it was the second highest in the country in education. First in economy, you guys have heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Second overall in education.
Who beat us?
I don't even know. That's a great question. Well, I'm going to have to do my research. But this, like I said, I just heard this information. In fact, it was yesterday morning. And so I'm sharing it here. And what that tells me, though, is despite the federal government, Utah has ethics, and they have principles that they stick to. And we've been fighting to keep our Utah principles and our, everything that keeps us, our roots, our culture. We've been fighting to keep that. And despite the federal push, we've been able to do what we can to keep things out of our standards. We're still pushing for curriculum. There's some stuff that tried to slip in there. We did what we could to keep CRT out. I can't remember, like something explicit sexual something or other that the federal government was pushing. We did what we could to keep that out. You know what I mean? And we're still second. I'd love to see who is first, and I think we can overtake them. But we really do have a lot of people saying, this is Utah. We don't care what the federal government thinks. We're doing what we need to do. And our kids are in many areas coming out on top here. Now, I don't want to take away from the fact that you and I both know there's a lot of work to still be done, right? This isn't a time, in my opinion, to sit back and say, hey, we're number 2. That's great. I'm not even happy with number 1, because the ranking system to me doesn't matter. It's what we believe our kids need to come away with from public ed. That's what matters. If we fall into a high rank as a result, that's great, but that's not the goal, right? We're not trying to get a trophy from the federal government.
Well, look how far we've come, though. It's nice to be in the top 5, considering Utah in 2002 was number 1 in literacy. And then we took a big fall over those 20 years. And I don't know what their scale is to judge us on that number 2, but it's nice to not be clear at the end, it's a lot of money's been spent in the name of education here in the state. And a lot of teachers have I mean, I think schools, teachers, especially engaged parents, administrators, they've done a lot of work for not a lot of pay.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an exceptional, I mean, we should be proud of that. I think that all administrators and all teachers in this state should be proud of that. And I think that's exceptionally
Absolutely.
nice to hear.
Yeah. We see, and this is part of the struggle I had, last year. There was a lot of rhetoric and behind just our teachers being bad and pushing certain things. And I'm telling people, like, hey, look, you are seeing maybe 1% of teachers doing this, if that. You get one person doing this, and it blows up to, man, we got a huge problem here, right? And a lot of times it wasn't even in our state that it was happening, but it's scary. And like, I get what parents are doing. I'm the same, right? And I hear my kids, they come home from the high school and I say, what's going on? What are you, and then I dig into it and meet with the teacher, right? Because that's what I'm supposed to do. And I learn a little bit more, and I talk to my kid and they say, yeah, it's, you're right. That's what happened, but things get blown out of proportion a lot. And so we have to find that balance of saying, hey, we really do value and respect our educators. We've seen great teachers, and we have great teachers who are working so hard. And unfortunately, it only takes one or two to put a bad name on a big.
And that is the world, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have bad in every career. We have this conversation every time there's a law enforcement issue, every time you get a doctor that's done something, a priest or a religious person. And yeah, it only takes one or two. I mean, for example, the rhetoric over sexually explicit books in school, that was happening, but was it happening in Utah, for one? And for two, where did they come from? How did they get through the gates? And why are we running entire campaigns based on that, which is only making parents afraid, angry, and they're grabbing their torches, and teachers are collateral damage in all of this, when half of them have never even heard of the book, let alone had it in their classrooms. So I think I mentioned last week that there's a couple jobs. The school board, I could see not being a partisan race or a sheriff. Schools and law shouldn't have to be partisan. But why I'm glad that they are is because those candidates will tell me where their values are, both budgetary and, personally, morally. I want to know who is representing me and where they stand on how they spend money and what standards that they want to accomplish and achieve and represent in their roles. So I hate that we're in a partisan situation, but I also appreciate the need for it.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely has its pros. And I think we're seeing that with my opponent happening right now. You kind of get a better feel for what you're voting for here, right? When you say, okay, we have a bipartisan election, let's talk to Matt on a Republican ticket, let's talk to his opponent on a Democratic ticket, right? You already have kind of an understanding, but then as you talk more, you get to see exactly if they really do fit that ticket that they're running on. And hopefully my values have represented the Republican well. And quite frankly, hopefully her values have represented the Democrat ticket well. But it does really give voters more transparency on who they're electing to put on the board to help their children succeed.
I agree. And Jordan Lott has made a comment. Education is important. In Connecticut, teachers get paid a ton in education in that state. It's not benefiting anyone. He said, hey, Matt, he should be the big boss. Let's go, Matt. And that's Jordan Lott. Thanks for tuning in, Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan. And you know what, this comment on Connecticut, You see, New York is another one. Ton of money into
Yeah.
the education system, and they are not doing well. And what happened? You know, somebody asked us about money, like why aren't we getting enough money, more money for education here in Utah? Now, I believe we are the largest portion of the budget of the state's budget. There's no question in my mind that the legislature values education. But
As does the governors, that
yeah,
we've had.
yes, absolutely. And I was talking to an auditor in Alpine School District. He wasn't for the school district. He's just in the area. Anyway, he kind of brought something to my attention that I hadn't thought of before. And everybody, I'm sure everybody else has. I'm just a little bit slower on this. But he says in states like New York or Connecticut, their income is much larger and they have fewer children in the home.
Yep.
I have
Also, for every time that they come to us taxpayers to levy for education, under the guise of giving it to a teacher, they hire more district level administrators. That's where the money is flowing to. In every time that it's been audited, they took $10 more, $9.50 more went to administrative covers, and 50 cents went to the teachers. We built a progressive style administrative state, and we wonder why everything that's touched by the government ends up that way. That's what we've got to ditch. We've got to get the money directly to the teachers and cut back on the administrative costs.
It definitely has to. It definitely has to reach down farther. Absolutely, I agree 100%. This is where my belief fits well with the charter model, because three-quarters of our budget go towards salaries and benefits, right? And so
It's amazing.
we do what we can, because I know that families come back because of their teachers. They don't come back for me. You know, I'm not out there saying, hey, this school is great because of me. No, that's not true. The school is great because of my educators. And
but don't they come back for the superintendent's third secretary to the
See, and you know, between you and Mr. Marsden in the junior high, there is such an open door policy in the way you guys run your schools. The two schools are connected and you are the administrator for both. But as a parent, there's never been a time that I couldn't go right in, make an appointment, and see either one of you, no matter what the situation was. And even then, same with teachers. And in charter schools, I think there's something to be said about teachers in a charter, because they don't have that public school. I don't know if they have unions or whatever in charters, but I have not had a teacher at either of the schools in Excelsior that I have not just appreciated and liked. And even if they didn't reach my kid in that way, because of course they have their favorites,
right?
They have given something to my kids that it's special. It's neat. Their classrooms aren't huge. And I love that we have an incumbent that has worked in the charter school and who believes in the charter school method and has seen successes and can influence, hopefully, our state school board in a way to consider some of your successes that you found in that model.
I appreciate that. When charters first came out, from what I understand, they were essentially research and development schools to assist district schools on this is what's working and this is what's not. And but immediately when a charter opened, there was this rivalry, right? And so we're trying to get to the back to a place where we say, no, district schools and even charter schools, let's work on what works, right? Let's take what works and implement that. I don't know about you guys. I'm a product of public ed. You know, I saw some good things in there, and quite frankly, I'm pro education. But where I landed in my career, I just love it to death. I love having the flexibility to focus on, in my opinion, what matters most. And again, that's academics. And there's educators out there who I've talked to in district schools who are saying, man, I wish I had that support, right? But but you've seen our districts have grown so large.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you get a small school feel with a district the size of Tooele or Granite or Alpine, the three that I represent, which are all three quite large, you know?
Well, they're bursting at the seams, and we find that we've talked about this before. They go in for their bond so they can build a new school that's already full to the seam by the time they open the doors.
Yeah.
And it's constantly doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And there's got to be a moment of clarity where the board says, what we're doing isn't working. Let's shift gears and let's tell legislature, this is what's working. This is what we see as success. This is how we avoid these $200+ billion, $1 million, whatever bonds that we have to see a production result. I mean, for Utah to be number one in economy and number two in education, that's phenomenal, because what that's telling the world and the nation is that not only can you prosper here as a business, but you can hire here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got employable members of society that have a good education who can stay here in Utah, and they can be your new employees. And ladies and gentlemen, that's huge, because they don't have to move people from, all over to be able to staff companies that want to come here.
Yeah.
And just a note for all you Utah legislatures out there, you want to throw us over the top on an economy that businesses and people want to move to and all that stuff. Ditch the taxes. I'll tell you what, as a worker, don't work overtime, because the state of Utah, they rob you blind. It is highway robbery when you work overtime.
Well, that's why you got to vote for Trump, because he doesn't want to tax overtime.
Yeah, I hope he can do it. Well, anyways, Matt, we got a half hour left with you. I just want you to spend a few minutes like laying out. I want you to give your position, your spiel, if you will, on why people should vote for Matt.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to fill 30 minutes with that. I can answer questions all
Just
day.
talk real slow.
Yeah.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's understand your why. Why run for the position?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And the reason that I'm doing this is we have had so many over the years, so many policies that protect the system or the organization. And if we're looking at protecting or helping teachers or educators in that system, I'm all for it, right? If we want to empower teachers and give them the ability to just do what they love, which is teach, I'm all for it. Because I believe that when we do that, we're also setting up a system where parents can be proud to put their kids in there. I get a lot of questions about this Utah fits all, the voucher law, right? The voucher law. And in my opinion, I say, if the districts were doing, and the schools, districts, charters were doing what they were supposed to do, or what parents were happy with, then it wouldn't be a threat at all.
Right.
People would say, I don't want the money. I don't want to. It's hard to homeschool. Yeah. It's not convenient to put your kids in a private school. There's nothing convenient about that. The most convenient thing is to have your kid in their neighborhood school. But my personal experience, when my daughter came home in second grade back in 2000, I don't remember, late 2000s, early 2010s, and she said, I said, what'd you do today? We watched Monsters, Inc. And then the next day she says, we have a readathon. She's so excited. And then she describes how in her mind, I'm sure it wasn't all this, but she's like, they put us in the gym, shut the doors, and I didn't see an adult for 2 hours, And I'm thinking, what is happening? I'm trying to be patient. And then she comes again. We watched Finding Nemo today. And I said, that's it. I can't do this anymore. That's not an education. And then one of the straws on that stack was she, her teacher said, and I don't blame her teacher for this, but her teacher said she's gifted and talented. She needs to be in the gifted and talented program. She is so smart. and both my wife and I said, that is great. That is so good to hear. When can we get her in there? Well, we don't have any room for her. Then why did you tell me about it? You know what I mean? You're telling me she's gifted and talented, needs to be in this upper class, and then tell me you don't have any room for it. All this kind of stuff just said, I got to get out of here. I've got to find a school. It's worth the drive to me to put her somewhere where she'll be educated.
I agree.
And so, and then, you know, at my school, I remember when I came out to Excelsior, 10 years ago, there was one student who needed to be in an upper level class. And they said, Mr. Hymas, we don't have the class. And I said, then you make it. You're going to teach this kid where they are. And that's how important it is. And I feel like we need to recognize where kids are. Right now, we're teaching to the lowest, 20%, which.
So what you're saying is you need a sign out front that says, no child stuck behind.
Right. Yeah. Let them grow at their level. Don't hold them back. So like this math 7, math 8, I don't care if you're in math 7, or I don't care if you're in 7th grade. If you can do algebra, you need to be taking algebra. You don't take math 7 because you're in 7th grade. You take math 7 because you don't understand 7th grade math, right?
Or like in my case, you're in 7th grade and, a little bit of that 2nd grade math. I need to count teddy bears and apples is more my speed.
Did you guys, I don't know if you heard Tim Waltz talk about how proud he was that in his state that I think he said 35% of the students are diverse and they don't speak English. And I was like, you're proud of that? That sounds like a nightmare for teachers.
Sounds like a recipe for
how
problems.
on earth are the kids learning in a classroom where a teacher has, I'm all about diversity. I love it. I love it. But there should be a common denominator in a public school in the United States, and that's English, because a teacher cannot teach a classroom with 35% that don't understand them, or that's taking from the 65% that needs to learn and they're getting held behind. And that is what I have loved about Excelsior. And I will tell this to anyone who listens, the fact that you guys do the RISE testing multiple times in the year and the kid is adjusted, the classes fit what the kid's level's at. It's not, oh, we're going to skip a grade or we're going to put you up to a different grade. No. You can go to your math class, which is 2 grades above what you're in. And then you're going to come back to your reading class, which is at the same level you're in. But we're also going to throw in Spanish because you've already graduated from vocabulary and reading or whatever it is. And the kid doesn't know the difference. They're just going to class as normal to a classroom that is the level that they understand. I think, why have our public schools not caught on that is a successful model?
Yeah. And at the same time, we really believe if you don't pass algebra, why would I send you to algebra 2?
Absolutely.
Right. And so we need some more accountability for these kids and to say, no, if you can't read, then let's keep you in a reading class. You guys, I think I may have mentioned this on the show before, that kid who graduated high school, was in a different state, sued the state and the education system, saying, I graduated and I can't read. And to me, that's obvious. Like, what do you mean you graduated? How is that even possible?
The number is astronomical. How many kids can't read
at
a regular level, let alone to graduate from high school at the standard?
Wasn't it last year? Baltimore was like over 90% can't read at a graduation level that graduated.
Yeah, that's huge.
I think it was Baltimore, and that would be the vice president's state. Or I mean, the soon-to-be vice president in the Democrat ticket, if he was to win. Isn't that where Tim Waltz is from?
No, he's not. He's not from Maryland. He's from Wisconsin, I believe, or Michigan.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But to tout numbers like that, it's really scary.
Baltimore is all these Democrat cities are failed cities. Baltimore, Detroit, they all leaned into this progressive policies that they're trying to force on the nation right now. And it absolutely destroyed their cities. And they try to blame it on all the other things, but no, it's their exact policies.
It's boys that are being affected. tremendously in reading, math. And so it's boys who aren't going on to college. There's less boys enrolling in college. And then for the people who do, they're not staying in because they're not prepared.
And that makes it so that when the ladies outnumber the men going to college because of the variables in what people look for, then there are people who can't pair match and start new families. Our demographics collapse. It's a whole thing. I personally, when Mad Max starts, I'm going to get me a Camaro and I'm going to paint it flat black and put a blower on it and carry a double barrel shotgun on my hip.
Matt, so tell us, what legislation would you say that is coming out this year? Is there any legislation that you're expecting in this next session that is focused on, because you mentioned the bill that basically, for those that may not know, is the bill that he was referring to is that the money follows the child. So if you decide as a homeschool parent to homeschool, then rather than your taxes going to your child going to a public school they don't attend, some of it gets back to them to spend. The parent gets to decide where that funding goes. Do you see legislation that you applaud, or have you worked with legislators on the upcoming session on anything that you could see being helpful?
So I haven't seen a whole lot yet. I know that they're working on it. The session starts in January, so things are coming. But let me tell you of the one that we have seen, Senator Fillmore. You probably may have heard. He did a press conference at Granger High School. He wants to write a bill, or he's in the process of writing a bill that bans cell phones. And he said, they say, what does that look like? And what he's essentially asking for is, currently, if a school wants to ban a cell phone, they have to write a policy against having it. For example, my school does not allow cell phones. We view them as a distraction, especially for kids in the K-8 realm. It's very difficult for a student within that age gap to stay focused on academics when you can have a cell phone in your hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you say ban, you mean the kid can have it in their backpack, but they cannot have it in the classroom.
So Granger has given out pouches. Have you seen those pouches?
Yeah.
Like when you go to a comedy show?
Yeah, Dave Chappelle gave those out.
Did he? Okay. Yeah. So they put them in the pouches, they lock, and then they have kind of a mechanism that unlocks it at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm torn on this because until we get the safety of our schools in a better place, I want to be able to hear from my child in the event of a bad nightmare scenario. Yeah. But I also understand that they are a horrible distraction and can be used as a tool that hurts kids rather than helps them.
Right. So, and that's the struggle that they're trying to find the balance with. So I asked my niece, actually goes to Granger High School. I said, do you use that pouch? And she said, no, absolutely not. But I keep it in my backpack and I don't take it out. So,
or don't take it out while you get seen. I've got to bring up another notion. I hope legislatures listen. I don't know.
Is he done with this thought?
Well, let me jump onto what he's trying to do, Senator Fillmore. From what I understand, is he's trying to flip. So instead of the default being you can have cell phones, the default would be don't have your cell phones out in class, right? And then if a school wants to write a policy saying, actually, we allow cell phones for example, theater classes, they use cell phones to do quite frankly, research. They'll say, get your phone out, get on YouTube and find something, right? And not all theater classes, but that's just an example. Some music classes, they might do research on it if a school doesn't have one-to-one computers. So anyway, what we're going to see with that is, instead of the default being you can have phones, he wants to switch the narrative so the default is you cannot have your phones.
I think schools are notoriously behind the times because they teach what has been learned by someone who went out and did it. So by nature, they're behind the times. If schools want to make it so that cell phones aren't a problem for distraction, schools need to start using those cell phones.
Well, Jared,
what do you mean?
We've tried.
You figure out ways to, one, the calculator thing.
Mhm.
Pull out your cell phone, get on the calculator. They're not texting, but their cell phone's in their hand and they're the place that cell phone wants to be and where they want it.
But
But
then
the
the school
schools-
doesn't have power to
The
keep.
schools using that. Also, I think, and this is up to teachers. Teachers need to figure out a way to innovate. If they're having problems with kids texting under the desk, figure out how to bring that cell phone up and make it present. So a
Yeah.
teacher can maybe do research to say, hey, on your cell phone, type in this web address and we're going to read along from your cell phone. The cell phone then is incorporated in the class and it's not a distraction. It's actually a part of it. Just
So
like
that-
when computers first came out,
Mhm.
schools were the same way with computers. They want, or even
Well,
calculators.
schools are issuing
They were,
computers
they
now.
were, I know they were the same way. They're late to the ball game. Schools need to start saying, we've got to anticipate this. The cell phone is probably the single most transformative machine in human history. And
Right.
schools to try to take that away, that's ridiculous. That's what the Catholic Church did with the press.
The printing press.
Yeah.
Let me jump in on this because I hear you. And it was tried a few years ago. It said, hey, we have been pushing for technology in the hands of kids for years, and now they have the technology that we're the same technology that we've been pushing for, right? And then here come the studies, and this is where we're hearing things and learning things. And they say, what do the studies show? Well, they say the technology isn't a bad thing. This is to your point, Jared. The technology isn't a bad thing. Here's the problem, though, is I have a student and they have a cell phone and they have more apps and notifications than I could ever imagine on my cell phone. And they say it takes, there goes a notification for me, a sports update. Let me check it. No, I'm not going to check it, right? But what they say is it takes a youth, an adolescent, 20 minutes to refocus once they get distracted by that
Yeah.
cell phone. Teachers don't have time, right? If I've got the cell phone in hand, that notification is coming. I'm going to get a Snapchat from my friend across the way, right? I'm going to get a video or some Instagram post or something. And so it's this constant battle because, Jared, I agree with you. You're exactly right. I think most people agree with you. We're saying no cell phones, yet we're trying to still get computers in their hands,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
So
let me introduce some more arguments into that. One, it's here. We're the only way we're going back is, EMP goes off and we all of a sudden have to learn Stone Age technology. Seriously. Also, this isn't the first time we've had arguments like this as humanity as a whole. When writing came about, there was arguments that we're going to lose our memory because we're writing it down. So we won't carry that. And so I still think, yes, children are going to lose 20 minutes of their time getting back on track.
20 minutes they don't have.
Teachers need to learn how to instruct through that. Also, why can't the teacher become that notification during class, mass to the students? The teacher can be like, Billy, I sent you a text with this part of Romeo and Juliet that you're going to read now. Well,
What if Billy can't afford a cell phone? His family doesn't
and then
have
if
it.
Billy doesn't have a cell phone to use, they're issuing the computers. I don't know. But to try to say we're going to take a step back, that is a fight that I believe education will lose.
I want to also,
and I don't think they'll lose it through legislation. I don't think they'll lose it because it is almost an unachievable goal.
okay, but here's my thing. Gum is everywhere. I knew I could not chew gum in class. So I had to keep it in my bag. And if I was caught chewing it, I had to throw it in the trash and we had to redirect and teachers pushed that. Teachers should be able to say, because under a cell phone, you don't know what access this child has. You could have pornography going on in a classroom. You've got children that can't afford cell phones who would be left out. We've already got the school issuing computers that are on a very specific guardianship so that they can't access certain websites and all of that. We're integrated the technology. Aside from an emergency, I don't see why you need to have cell phones in school. That's the only barrier I have, is that our kids are not fully protected in public school, or any school for that matter. Anything could happen at any time. They should be able to have access to a parent via text or call if it's an emergency. But I think that even us, our attention span is this big now, and that's kids too. To be a teacher with all these different cell phones or people without them, I think that puts a whole new spin on inequality in a classroom.
I'm not disagreeing with you guys. I'm not at all. But as a student of history, this is one that you will lose, because it's been lost in every other technology. We're seeing
the same thing, quite frankly, with AI, right? It came out, we were terrified. We had colleges saying, hey, you use this, you're gonna get expelled from the university level. At the same time, I'm going, because I try to keep up on my craft, and they're saying, if you don't know how to use AI in the workforce, you're obsolete.
Yeah.
Don't even try. So now we're trying to say, okay, how do we use this? How do we teach students to use tools correctly? And this, when you talk about cell phones, let's take away school. There's studies all over the place, I'm sure. And I don't want to promote a book here, but The Anxious Generation, read by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. I don't know the exact numbers, and it's showing the damage that has been done. I don't think the cell phone is the issue. It's the
not solely.
It's the brain development. When you put something this powerful in the hands of somebody who doesn't know how to wield it, it becomes dangerous.
Well, humanity's learning a new tool, but also the average parent of this anxious generation who fought for everyone's a winner, everyone gets a trophy.
Yeah.
If little Timmy gets a bad grade, the teacher's in trouble. That's also a part of that equation. You cannot forget that. You can't forget also it's a generation that's had the highest level of divorce, no fathers in the home, no strong male example. We've had a government that has been neurotic and schizophrenic over the last 20 years. We've had nothing but a news media where every night as they walk through the house, the trusted adult in the room is watching a show that's showing them nightmare and terror and trying to get ratings through that. Instead of telling you the news, they're trying to be a drama. So there is a lot that goes into that.
That's a lot.
You go, I mean, read Jonathan Haidt and Lukianov, their show, what is it, Coddling of the American Mind, or their book, Coddling of the American Mind. It lays it all out. The cell phone is a big part of that equation, but
there's more. Absolutely. And somebody asked me the other day, when was the last time you seen a kid with a cast? And I thought, man, the point being, we don't get out anymore. Kids used to break things. That's how we grew. That's how we learn.
Yeah.
I learned, by bad experience that you can't jump a bike over 2x4s. It doesn't work very well.
How often have you seen a group of kids on a bike?
Right.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often, right? So, we have good parents. I'm sure we have great people who are listening right now saying, yeah, I've seen it. And this is, I make my kids go outside. That's what I have to do. Hey, I took all my kids to Home Depot yesterday. For what reason? I had to return some stuff, and I made them come with me because I say, it's time to get out. I said, you got plans? No, your plans aren't in front of my TV. Let's go. And
the populace, I mean, we've gotten younger and younger and younger, and I'm guilty of throwing an iPad in front of my child at a young age. And I've probably helped create a little ADD in both of them on their focus, because that development and that gray matter, and as they're developing, their attention span, and I know because adults are having it too, it's one high to the next high to the next high by design. These are designed to do this, and we're growing little addicts. I mean, they're looking for that next thing. That's how we all get stuck in the void. I call it the abyss, when I'm like, hey, put down the iPad, because you've been in the abyss where it's one reel to the next reel to the next reel. Yeah. And all of a sudden 4 hours has gone by.
Well, we're building the next humanity. The change is here, just like Every other technology's invented, a new human has to mold around it. And yes, that first group of humans is a lost group.
I would like to know, Matt, with that thought, and you're absolutely right. If there is a ban on, my whole thing about cell phones, like I said, is safety. Is there anything going on? And this is what I love about the work you do, because I know many legislators who know who you are, who have gotten your guidance or thoughts on bills. I know you have to work with other people in order to have a successful school board. That does take a unity with, with you, legislature, the board itself, and then with these districts. Going into session, I know a lot of them will seek counsel from the school board and vice versa. So how is the security? Is anybody addressing security in our schools? And has that been something the school board has talked about?
Absolutely. School safety has been on the minds of everybody for years. Especially these past couple of years, legislature has put a lot of money into school safety. But can I be honest with you guys? I have to be like I can, and your listeners here. Everything that we're trained on, everything that we talk about, I shouldn't say everything, a lot of the stuff, most things is reactionary.
Absolutely.
You know what the safest thing is having kids comfortable enough to come to your administrator or your teacher and say, I think something's wrong with so-and-so, or so-and-so told me that they have plans, right? Because a lot of times that doesn't come out till after the fact. They're putting in this, I can't remember the name of the bill, but they want the school guardian. Well, what's a school guardian? All it is it's somebody who's willing to shoot somebody who starts shooting first, right? I mean, that sounds brutal, but they can't prevent. The school guardian is not going to prevent. It might help the shooter question, like, oh man, I'm probably not going to go there. That's helpful.
Yeah.
But, we're going to train them on how to take a life if necessary. And that stuff needs to happen. And we talk about putting different security measures in the schools, and we do different drills and things of that nature. And like I said, we put more and more money into the keeping the people out. But the safest thing that we can do is to talk to our children, make sure that they're mentally safe and don't have those plans, right? And then talk to our children and say, if you hear of this, you've got to at the very least let me know as a parent, right?
Mm-hmm.
See something, say something.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to fix our society.
Yeah, this isn't one of those situations where it's a secret, right? And I had I went to watch admittedly it was a social emotional learning. I said, what is all this about? I need to see what's going on. This was when SEL was making a big push, and there was these organizations going to different schools. And I said, I got to see what's going on, because I don't do that at my school. We do our own stuff and we take care of it. We teach these principles like, hey, be responsible for yourself and your friends. Help them by saying something, right? Doesn't help anybody to keep it a secret. And
Right.
one of the things that they said that I walked away with that I actually thought was very valuable, they were talking to first graders, so it was very age appropriate. They say there's two types of secrets that make you happy and secrets that make you nervous. And you can keep the ones that make you happy, like it's so-and-so's birthday party, we're going to keep that a secret. But the ones that make you nervous, you need to tell somebody. And
that is a good one.
Yeah.
That is.
That's what we need to help our kids understand. Like if a friend of yours tells you, hey, don't tell anybody, but I got to see, and you got to carry that pit with you. You got to tell somebody. You got to get help.
Yeah, and that goes deeper than just if that kid has some plans, but what if that kid's going through some stuff,
Right.
Yeah, and so bring a responsible person involved who can actually aid the situation. We have 5 minutes left. I want to run through some comments.
Something quickly,
We only
though.
have 5 minutes. I got to run through these comments. Got to pour in on both sides.
You got to hold on. The school guardian doesn't have that interaction with the child day to day like a teacher does. And I think that is the number one thing. The child has to know the teacher is a safe place. The administration is a safe place. And you've had this experience in the school recently. And that conduit between administration and parent is paramount, because as a parent, I feel like my child's in a safe space. And because there is so much information that is that you personally send out to parents, and you reiterate that same fact. If your child sees something, say something. And again, it's you're living by example. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I know I feel secure where my daughter's concerned. Now run through comments.
All right.
All right.
On YouTube, Jordan says, yeah, college is important. I had great professors at Utah Valley University. Developing the skills you learn matters the most. One of the high school wrestling coaches I know said he would not let his daughter have a cell phone. He is an awesome wrestling coach. Look, I agree, but just my thoughts on it are, if you want to do that, I support you on that.
I don't let my kids have a
But
cell
there
phone.
is a new human being born right now. We can't avoid it. Right now, go to get a job. You're not getting a job unless you have a cell phone.
Yeah,
You're
but
not
we're
getting
talking about
hired
eighth
anywhere.
graders,
That's fine. But
sixth graders.
that is the new human being born. You don't want to be the horse archer when the rifle is invented. That's all I'm saying.
I get it. I get it. And I hear you, Jared. But look, you don't create a good soldier just by putting a gun in a 1-year-old's hand. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I agree. First, you got to teach them to spin it and do all the fancy stuff. But the new technology is here. It is here.
And it's
We
not
can't-
easy. You're right.
We can't avoid it. And then we got some Facebook comments.
Okay.
All right. Jeff Adamson says,
Hi, Jeff.
love that you use the word mental.
He says before that, how big of a bureaucracy would need to be created to follow students with the money? This is really interesting to me as well, because we need to know statistics and where exactly. I mean, have we figured out where and how to best spend the money, rather than it just going right to administration like it sometimes does? How do we track it?
What
How
if
do
we
know
could
what's
tax
successful
in
and what isn't?
parents and parents paid for school?
That would be interesting. You know, I think the closest
point.
thing they got was they talked about Amendment A. It's no longer on the ballot, or maybe it's on the ballot, but it won't matter.
Yeah.
It was too late to take it off. But anyway, but they said that the legislators said we want to get rid of property, or of putting all of your property taxes to education. We want to do different ways, right? I don't know. I mean, those are great questions, because I don't know, quite frankly, how much of my money goes to my kids. And because I have a household of 5 kids, you know, 2 of them are still students, how much money still goes to them, right? Am I paying less per student because I have more than you, who might have 1 or 2 kids at home, paying the same property taxes as I am? Or maybe
Also, could it break the monopoly on education by the state? Could it make it so that education has to get leaner and more competitive?
It's true.
That's a lot to argue with. If the government took over cell phones in, say, 2004, we would still be using that Nokia thing, because that's as far as they would get. Right?
What are we talking about? I think how we're following the money.
Government controls schools, so they carry a monopoly on education. And that way, even a charter school, you have to compete in their monopoly against them. You have to be there competing against them and propping them up at the same time, when you should be able to say, hey, we're lean and mean. You want your kid to do this? You come here and learn this.
Right.
And people would choose you, and they wouldn't have to, you would pull competition into the education market. All right.
Our charter school, I sought out. I researched all the schools, including private, and I chose Excelsior based on what I learned. And so it's worth the drive to me to get them there. And it's also worth the requirement and volunteer hours and things to have them participate.
Yep. And Matt Jones, what's up, Matthew? He says, why every school hasn't been fortified is beyond me. There are ways to do so without making it look like a prison, if they truly want to maximize safety.
I'm with you on
That's
that.
a good point. I would like to, again, competition where schools could play their own methods of doing it and how to figure it out. Let it rise. It shouldn't be a decision that's made in one place in Salt Lake City that covers the whole state, when every school has different needs, has different capabilities. But I still lean on, right now our society is sick. Yes, part of that is the cell phone has been invented. That has made us sick as a society.
We have a social mental
100%.
illness.
We're a new human being born. We're a new iteration, just like, writing and agriculture. Everything has changed humanity, and it causes a lot of chaos in the beginning.
Who's that comment from?
Matt Jones.
Matt,
Matt,
let me speak to Matt for a second. Is that okay?
yes.
I appreciate what Matt's bringing up here. And I do want to say there are actual laws against sharing what your school is doing to fortify, right? Because you don't want to let the bad guys know, if you will, what
you're doing or not
what
doing.
you're doing, right? I will tell you.
Don't tell us about the shaped Channerite charges you have at the doorway, covering 45 degrees from both directions.
But I mean, obviously, you're going to see some obvious things. Like a lot of times, people put locks on the doors or buzzers. A lot of schools have buzzers. You'll see those obvious things. They can't tell you everything, and they can't show you everything. But I do want to, because I'm glad you brought this up, because the legislature has put a ton of money out there to help schools fortify and get there. So whether they are or not, I don't know for sure, but I know that laws have been saying, hey, beef up your security, take care of your buildings, right? I know that a lot of times money is a huge factor. None of this is cheap, and nobody's making it free, of course. And so, but I do want Matt to understand. I should have remembered his name. It's a fantastic name.
Kind of biblical, really. If
it's interesting too, because we talked about arming teachers and the actual Tim Jimenez bill when he talked about getting teachers training, proper training. I mean, this is the age we're living in. Do we want to have our teachers armed? No. In a perfect world, there should be no need. But if it's a deterrent for any would-be person, that it means they'll will to walk into a place and they don't know if the secretary is going to end it, or if, right down the hall, you've got 4 teachers who are going to end it. We never want that. But what we do want as a society is to know that schools are safe and that there are people in them that are prepared to protect with their lives the children that they are taking, that are in their care. So I think that's.
And now everybody knows that in Utah, there is at least one person in there who is willing to do that in every Utah school.
Hey, and in the great state of Utah, there may be a concealed carry parent visiting the office. So for all you Dick Dastardly out there, remember, you may get your butt handed to you by, Bob the plumber, who's down there to turn over a doctor's note. Anyways, everyone, we got to cut
his website real fast.
I've got it up on the screen. We got to cut Matt loose. We got Cari coming in, but everyone go to Vote Hymas. That's HYMAS.com. VoteHymas.com. Check him out. You guys should be getting your ballots. They're
out. So
Matt's a friend of the show, friend of the county. He is an educator's playing a part in my niece and nephew's lives, and also playing a part in Holly's kids' lives. Matt, thank you very much for coming on, and good luck. We'll, either way, let's have you back on after this is all over, and do a little chat at least about the state of education in Tooele and Humana.
We appreciate you, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate your work.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Yeah, we'll see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Hi, Mom.
All right, now we're going to bring Cari on. Cari, how are you? Now, I saw a few minutes ago a much less attractive person was sitting in front of the camera. What is going on with that?
I wasn't sure if I was going to have a pure green screen or an actual screen, so I had him fix it. But
Oh,
he didn't have his makeup on today.
I'm like, Cari, what happened? Poor woman. Anyways, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
So great to have you back.
So for everyone on here, this is Cari Bartholomew, and so you've got an event coming up. So go ahead and lay out for us who's the event with, what's it for, and what's it got going on.
Sure. Let me start a little bit behind that, if that's okay. So I recently ran for state school board. I did not win. But it was very close. So it was about 1,100 votes.
And you educated a lot of people in your campaign. You run an excellent campaign.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But a lot of doors opened. And so 2 of the doors that opened for me, sorry, I see Adam writing, ha, ha, ha. So,
Yes.
So two doors open for me, and it was two parental groups, and one brought the heart and one brought the bomb throwing. And I felt like maybe Utah needed a little bit of both, but I wanted to go with the one with the heart. So I chose to go with Moms for America. And especially after Kimberly Fletcher, the founder, called me personally and said, I want you to bring the sass to Moms for America.
Oh.
Awesome.
So that's how that worked. And so
Tell
we
us
have
about
our
Moms
launch.
for America.
Right, Moms for America. And what we are actually is Moms for America Action.
Action, right.
So Moms for America has been in Utah for 14 years, and they have been, they're very well respected women's group who have really taught the principles of liberty within their homes. So like homeschool curriculum and things like that. Now, what we've decided to do, can you hear me? I feel like
Yeah, we've got some distortion coming across your
like a
on my
background hum.
yeah.
There it is. It's gone.
it
Push
It
that
was.
button again.
I didn't push a button.
Oh, well, whatever you did. Are you holding the cable?
No, but is it still there?
Yeah, it's still there.
Okay, let me text him since he's here.
Every once in a while, you moved your hand and it went away, and then it came back.
That could have been us talking.
Is it me?
Yeah, it's coming across your line. I've done the tests on this end.
Okay.
And it could be
Adam,
interference.
get in there. I know you're watching. Get in there.
Right.
Let's see you again, and let's get this. But please continue. I'm sorry.
And I want to say this, Adam, you're much more handsome than I am. You're just not as pretty as Cari.
Here he comes. Here he comes to save the day. All right.
So
there's
Moms
some
for
fun.
American Action, you would
Okay.
say that they started like with a homeschool group, and
So they started with like a homeschool curriculum. Yep, you've got it right there. So a homeschool curriculum. Their goal was to empower parents, promote liberty, and to raise patriots. And so they've been doing that for 14 years. They've been advocating for good policy, all sorts of things. Sorry, and
oh, it stopped.
Oh, he stole your sound.
and that was important to me. Ooh, does that sound better?
No, it's still the same.
Okay.
But if we have to deal with it,
That's okay. If we have to deal with it, we'll deal with it.
Okay. Can you still see me?
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
great. Is that better?
No, not yet.
No.
We'll go back to this
I
one
think you
that
just have
way.
to give that bait.
Yep. We'll just suffer
Okay,
through it.
So what happened with this organization is that they asked Brooke Stevens, who is Laverna in the library, and I
Mhm.
heard some of the conversation about books in the library. So they asked Brooke Stevens and myself to come on and to bring the heart, but also to bring kind of the guts, because I have felt for a long time that Utah is very asleep. Not everyone, but that there's a lot of people who are asleep in Utah, and so we want to wake them up, but we want to wake them up gently and truthfully, and not hyperbolically, if that
and
makes
with
sense.
a lot of fear.
Right. I mean, there are reasons to be concerned. I sent you guys a couple of pictures. There are reasons to be concerned, but there always needs to be reasons of hope, and on top of that, it has to be truthful. So you can't say that, oh my gosh, they're going to put horned demons in our kindergarten classrooms reading to our children, because no, they're not. That's not what's happening. It's a lot more subtle than that. So one of the things, so Brooke is very big into advocacy. So we want to build relationships with legislatures. We want to do kitchen table work where we're building that relationship, where we are the people that they come to when they have questions specifically pertaining to education, specifically pertaining to SEL and CRT and DEI. I don't want them calling a left-leaning person to get advice for a state that claims it doesn't want to be left-leaning.
Mm.
Sure. We're leaving it up to the experts. We are a country that relies too much on experts rather than common sense anymore.
Exactly.
So to bring something like this, and we can share those photos that you sent, but one example is the discussion of American history and how we're founded on it's a horrible history. We enter a
Yes.
long, bitter story of U.S., a history that began with cruel invasion, stealing land from native people, bringing enslaved captives all the way from Africa, and then seizing a huge part of Mexico. Well, that's part of this story. The other part was inspiration and freedom and, the individual spirit. I mean, and what country doesn't have a history like this? I mean, borders are made because of wars that are fought. And what about America being the first to end slavery and the 650,000 lives that they gave to end it, the Civil War? I mean, there are.
Well, we were just talking. Well, it was Columbus Day this weekend, right?
Yeah.
And they're debating Columbus Day versus Indigenous Peoples Day. And someone asked me, "Can you please make a rebuttal because there's a group that really promotes that negative America sucks kind of mentality." And so they said, can you talk a little bit more about Columbus? And I really had to read it. I mean, I'm public school educated, so I had to do some research. And so I looked at a few things. And one of the things I found out was that, I mean, I knew obviously that Columbus was a religious person. And I'd heard before about the Caribs, which I can't forget because that's basically my name. So, so I'd heard about those things, but there were 13 there were 13 pilgrimages of Christians, right? And there were over 538 Islamic, but we don't have that conversation. So I think it's really important, as I always have, that our kids, that our families have a strong, truthful education. We don't need to be afraid of the truth. And I think I've decided that that's the new term for woke. My students were asking me that the other day, and they were like, "What does woke mean?" And I said, "I think woke means that you are no longer able to question what is true.
Yeah.
You are just told true, and you believe it, and that's where you go from there."
That's a good definition of it. I think it's claiming your victimhood and demanding the rest of the world claim it as well. That's what I see woke as.
That's true, but I think that those things of claiming your victimhood, some people shouldn't be claiming. Some people
I agree.
No victimhood to claim.
I agree.
It's not questioning. You're just handed it and told you're a victim.
They're
right?
I should say designing a victimhood. Right now, the world has an issue that they look at. They look at victimhood as a moral high ground. They looked at victimhood is the ultimate aspirant you can have right now, is to be able to find where I'm a victim. I failed because someone else did it to me. Look, I'm the ugliest person on this screen because of you and Holly here. I am a victim right now, and people need to really support me in my design. No, you are who you are. Your history is your history. Everyone has sufferings. Everyone has successes, but the world right now focuses all on sufferings. You see it anywhere you look right now. Any argument around the world, anything is viewed through this spectrum.
Yes. And that's because it keeps you in a cage.
He
It
fixed
keeps you
it.
weak.
Yep.
And so in terms of promoting liberty, that is when we have a lot of people who, at our launch, for instance, Gabby is going to come. And when Gabby speaks, she is from Cuba. She has a 5-month-old child, and she is a very fierce little 25-year-old woman. That sounds condescending. I don't mean that, but she's 25, and she's ready to fight because she comes from a communist country, right? And so finding people who are committed to patriotism because of what it has been for them, I think is really important. So
we also have Brooke here as well. Mind if I bring her in with you?
Yeah, Yes, bring Brooke in.
Hi.
Hi, Brooke.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you tonight, Brooke?
I'm great. I love working with Cari. I'm super excited to get Moms for America out and just help people start to engage really effectively with their communities and make sure it's the place that they want to be. Make sure it's the home they want for their families. And so it's really exciting, the opportunity that we have, especially this upcoming election. So I don't know if you've introduced, but I'm the Civic Engagement Director for Moms for America. And I built an app called Amplify USA so that people can educate themselves, and it has ratings for every level of government, the federal and state level, for any contested race. And it's from out of Texas. It's a company called iVoterGuide. And a lot of times when you want to know information about people, the problem is, well, who do I ask and who do I trust? And this company has been around for 10 years. And so that is a really good, they're really thorough, and they back everything up with facts. So they'll have an endorsement, they'll have questionnaires, they'll have who contributed to their campaign. And then they'll also have other information like how they voted. So you can see all that. And so it's not just randomly, oh, I don't like them, or there's 5 points of data. They get as much as they can, and then they share it with people. So we're trying to help people know where to go to get that information so that they can make the best decision for them and for their families.
That's brilliant. As a voter, that could be a huge tool. I mean, there's too much information out there. How nice that you'd have an option to kind of gather that information and put it in one place that's accessible to everyone. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and the other piece is we have information from local groups, because a lot of people will go to social media and there's a lot of animosity or vitriol, and they're like, oh, I don't want to go there anymore, especially for politics. Like, yeah.
Tell me more. Where is this?
So we've lost this ability to communicate. So intentionally on Amplify, there's no chat feature. It's only information from all the platforms. So you have all the local groups who are doing their research. They may disagree with each other. They may not, but there's nobody liking it. And you can see what they have to say. It links to their website. And you don't have to sign up with them on Facebook or Telegram or whatever, because we keep it all there. And because one of the problems we were seeing is that in Facebook, the algorithms will make it disappear, or not a lot of people will see it. And so they won't get that information. So there's no algorithms. You see it by the date. You can sort it by the organization. And we're just trying to inform with local people who are really passionate about giving and sharing their research. And so it's not social media, but it's social information. And we hope.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Is it an app or a website?
It's a mobile app. And
okay, what's it called?
It's called Amplify USA, and it's free in the iTunes or whatever, the App Store and Google Play. And the reason it's a mobile app, people say, I don't want to download another app. But the reason it is because most people don't know who represents them, how to contact them, and what the issues are. And so you need to be constantly just aware, and it will send you that information as much as it's out there. And so not just for voting time, but holding your reps accountable and saying, hey, this bill is coming up. How did you vote? It can send you a note on so we were having trouble like giving messages to people based on their location, who their reps are. So if you choose a certain rep and they have a town hall, it will pop up only for the people that rep has a town hall for. It's not like, how do I get them all into all these separate groups for each rep? You don't have to. You're automatically getting the messages for each rep if they're in your dashboard. And we don't get any data on what you're doing either. So my husband and I built this. So So I'm not like, oh, this person believes this. We can't see it. The messages come directly from your personal phone or from your email that we don't see. It just links to it, so you have your privacy. But it's so critical to get people engaged in a way that makes sense to them, where they don't feel they're being manipulated, where they're making the decisions, and that's what we're hoping to do with Moms for America Action, is to really empower parents and moms to know that their absence is felt, and when they show up, that's when the difference starts to really benefit all members of the community, and we can no longer be absent from it. This is a time when just our tiny small actions will have a big effect for our community and our state.
I love it. I'm looking it up right now, because that is something that I would love. I would love to have a one place where I can put my candidates in, and then it's going to tell me essentially how they voted. Does it tell you what the bill is? Does it define a bill?
Oh, yes. And
that's huge.
Yeah. And it's from all these organizations who have their specialty, and they do their research. And even if you don't agree with the organization, they're giving you a starting place of where to continue your research. And so it's not like you have to do everything that they put out there. And Moms for America is one of those. Another one is American Family Action that I'll be adding soon, but they're excellent at federal level legislation. They're great watchdogs at that. And then we can engage with our congressmen and our senators really intelligently. It's not like, well, I don't know enough about that. They research it, write it down as much as you need to know, and then say, the bill is going to go to be voted on next week. Call them before that. And so hopefully people can see that it isn't that hard and Utah is amazing because we have so many groups doing this. We really have a plethora of groups who are engaged. It's just a matter of bringing that to the people who, don't really know where to start right now. And so,
right. And this is an easy format, and I don't know if people can see it, but I see, for example, if Chris Stewart's your representative, you've got him. He's no longer our representative, but you put in your district and it'll tell you who your representative is. And then you can follow them on your dashboard. And you're saying that I'm downloading it now. So people take a look at it, because this is pretty dang cool. And you're not tracking people's information or data, and you're not selling it. You're probably not putting advertisement inside, or are you? How do you fund this app?
I'm embarrassed, but we did get some donors, and
Great.
Then the rest came from our mortgage on our house.
Oh,
And
okay.
Yeah, right.
Advertising in there.
yeah. It's time to start selling data.
Well, that is a huge commodity now.
That's the new world. That's where it's at.
I can imagine that electeds would want to donate to something like this. And I can also imagine that people like me would like to buy advertising on your page, especially during election time. If anything, just to let people know about my candidates and about my county or something. I mean, this is a great idea.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I hope that people will take advantage of it, and that everyone can benefit. And I'm sure there's a way to monetize. That hasn't been my biggest priority. My biggest priority has been to restore the people to government. A lot of people will say, I don't like government. And I'm like, but you like your community and you want to preserve it. And
but that's why I don't like government.
Well, you have to, it's kind of a strange position to be in, to say you don't like government, because we truly are sovereign. The people are sovereign, and the government can't or shouldn't be able to do anything without us. So our absence is giving them way too much power. And for us to bring it back and say, yes, the people are sovereign. I'm just going to do 5 minutes a week. And with 5 minutes a week, the difference we could make. Our legislators would be like, what is happening here? How come so many people understand the issues? Because a lot of the legislators have full-time jobs in Utah. It's amazing. There's no paid, they can't be full-time like in other states. And so they don't have a whole lot of time to research every single issue. And so we, the people, have to research this and share it with them and show up in numbers for things that matter to us. And this is giving them the power to do that.
This
Deb,
is
I
way
like it.
easy. I'm literally setting it up right now.
I like it.
And this is really easy. And for people who do podcasts or anything political, this is an automatic information. I mean, you're doing research for us.
So that we can get in there and snipe them. All right.
Yeah.
So, but I want to get back to, so you got an event coming up, right? Let's go ahead and pull up the event.
You're muted, Cari, I think.
Oh, Cari's not talking to us. She doesn't want to talk to us anymore. She just wants to show us her face. But she's got her producer in. But I'll go ahead and lead off the read for the event, if that's okay. So Moms for America Action, they have a one-day Utah Summit Thursday, October 24th at the Calvary Mountain View Church. That's 340 East State Street in American Fork, Utah. And some of the people you can expect if you attend, Burgess Owens, he will be there. Is that Kimberly Fletcher?
Yes.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Nice 2020.
I know.
Vision there.
I know. Julene Jackson.
Oh, Nicolene Peck.
Yes, Nicolene Peck. She's a
Willa County's
local, a local, and she's also running to be our local rep here in Tooele. You're gonna have to read the other names because I can't zoom in on it because I'm sharing it on the screen. If I zoom in, it'll mess it up. But give us the other names, Cari.
Can I give you the other names? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, great. So on the bottom, you're going to see a bunch of our elected officials. So what we're doing with them now, some people have been upset because they don't agree with all of the elected officials. But the thing is that we need to build relationships with them.
Yes.
Right. And so this is an opportunity for as many elected officials as possible to come out and to meet their constituents and for us to kind of have some influence. So we are, all of us will be speaking in the evening, and then we're going to just mix and mingle with them for an hour. We're also raising, we're retrieving relief funds for hurricane victims. So Glenn Beck is sending a Mercury 1 truck out.
Awesome.
So Moms for America is pretty large. Moms for America, Kimberly Fletcher has been an advisor to President Trump, a parental advisor. And so they're coming. Yeah, she's coming out for a vigil the night before with Mom Army. So that's the first thing that we're doing. And then we have our summit. And our summit really is about, like I said before, sorry, this has been all floppy, but it's really about bringing the heart. So Brooke is extremely organized and extremely fierce and effective in the things that she does. And where I believe my strength is in bringing people together. So I have seen a ton of division within the Conservative Party itself.
I know you have. It's been a contentious race.
Right. And it's been just awful to watch people who agree on so much tear each other down. And I also believe that after the election, whether our side wins or loses, it's going to be a very distraught time for a lot of people. Families are not going to speak to each other.
It's true.
You know,
and it's funny. They're not going to speak to each other on grounds of the same political party.
Yes.
We're seeing a big shift come on. It's wild.
Yes. Yes. And so we need to bring the heart back in. And who else brings back a heart but the mother? The mother's, the nurturing spirit. The ones who say, you know what, we're not going to put up with drama. We're going to just create a nurturing environment. So the things that I want to see happen in communities right now, Moms for America has for 14 years here had book clubs where ladies get together and they discuss constitutional principles. We're kind of I hate to say it this way in case I offend anyone, but we're kind of the younger generation of this. And so we're bringing in what's relevant right now. So we just finished the book, The Queering of the American Child. We're reading books like Rules for Radicals. And we're doing whatever our community wants. Like our leadership, one of the things I love about Moms for America is that we're servant-led. So we're not top down, look at me, I'm the boss. We're, how can I help you thrive as a mom? As, you know, and also we have moms, we have grandma grizzlies, and we have future moms, because we know that our youth are being targeted hard by the left. And
Our very prosperity. Yeah.
What'd you say?
Our very prosperity, and even the
Yes.
future of babies in the womb that are targeted.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
This is huge. And
But
how
our
what
young
better? Let's
people-
empower each other as women.
Right. And let's not make the idea that you need to be a mother and something else. You absolutely can be, but you don't have to be, because the slogan that we use is that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Right? And so
Yeah.
if we rule the world, if we shape the world, then we've got to be active in it. And I think for a very long time, we have checked out. We have let social media tell us how we need to parent. We've taken on every craze like gentle parenting or whatever else, when we know what's true and we need to hold on to true things. We are the best educators for our children. And I'm not talking necessarily academically, although I am pro school choice, but I'm talking about in all of those things that
Morally. Yeah.
I mean, a young woman came up to me today. She's a 10th grader, and she showed me this article that she's writing about how upset she is that they're always on Chromebooks. They're just always on Chromebooks, and she's like, "We're not learning anything. It's kind of gamified, and you know, like we're at school." And she literally wrote, "Our teachers are playing Candy Crush." Now, I don't believe that's every teacher. But I do think that we've got to do what we can as mothers, both in our homes, but we also need to be informed enough, and we have to know what we do, because I have parents who will say, "What do I do about this? And what do I do about this? And, you know, all of these things are happening. What can I do?" And I just look at them and I say, "Where do your rights come from?" That's the first thing you have to know, is where do your rights come from? Your rights come from God. Right? And if you can start there, then you have some power, and then you can go and advocate. Then you can learn. But you have to start at a balanced place. One of the things that we've heard is, you know, don't go to a place that's just going to set your hair on fire. And there are people who will just set your hair on fire.
That's true.
But the thing about Moms for America,
Why'd you look
is that
at
the
me?
people-
Just because I have a lapse of it doesn't mean I want to erase it from everyone else.
Because my own children aren't in the room, and neither
Oh,
is
okay.
the Democratic Party that I so
Oh.
often engage with. So you're targeted. Please forgive me. Go on.
But the people who are coming to us, it's not that they want their hair set on fire. It's that the fires are there, and they want help putting them out.
And navigating through them, or expecting them before they come. How to
Right.
logically look at the scenario, empower yourself, and know that those around you want what's best for you, as you do for them, and they help you navigate those really hard
Yes.
waters. Our kids don't come with instructions, and if you're an
Right.
atheist, you can still look at who gives me my rights. I do.
Right.
I empower if you don't believe in God, but those of us
Right.
that do, we have that area where, hey, all glory be to God. We are empowered by Him, and in Him we empower our children, ourselves, our communities. And
Right.
and it's not that men aren't important. It's that we need each other. We
Right.
need each other, and the mom has to be playing the exact role that God chose for us to play. And we
Exactly.
make the house a home.
Yes,
Daddy
in fact,
brings
one of
the
the
home.
slogans that we
Right
have
now,
is
I've
that
got
we're
a
the
strong urge to make all those jokes that my dad taught me.
You
That
just
are
settle
inappropriate.
down. You are outnumbered here, sir.
Okay, but one of our organizations, one of the things Kimberly Fletcher says is we are the female organization that loves men. We
That's
love
true.
the father. We
Yeah.
venerate the father as much as they venerate the housewife
Oh, yeah.
or the mother, right?
We don't have a
So
family without him.
Yeah.
the family is vital. And the
Yes.
family is the thing that's under attack. Everything else, you can look at it however you want to, but it comes down to the family. Because
By
without
design.
the family, then you need a replacement for that family. And that replacement for the family tends to be government. And
Mhm.
that's what our kids are being taught, whether that is in social media or whether that is in some of their classrooms.
Oh, it's subtle too. You know, in a lot of movies and video or television shows, they make the dad look like this huge doofus.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get irritated when I watch, television and they make the police look like huge doofuses. And
Right.
it's all by design. It's
Yeah.
a mockery of the important role that these
Mhm.
father, police, firemen,
Right.
that firemen never get to be a doofus in movies. It's just police and dads. But
Oh wait, there was that one
I think
where
that
the two firemen married each
it's
other.
by design. One movie. It is and it's Adam Sandler.
Yes.
It's by design because one, you get God out of people's lives.
Mhm.
We no longer have a moral
Yes.
society that values life. And
Yes.
when that happens, everything else is on the table. And that's why you're battling daily what your children learn. If you can't teach your children their value at home before they hit the streets.
Yes.
And I think it was Hamilton. If you'll stand for nothing, then you'll fall for anything.
Right.
And I keep hearing that line, like as mothers, we need to teach our kids their value, and dads need to show them what their value looks like when they're
Well-
all grown up.
And the
How
big
many-
thing about dads is dads need to take on the protective role in the household so that the
Right.
mother is free to mother and nurture. Because if the dad's gone, then the mother isn't free to nurture. And that's why we've got a sick, collapsing society.
Yeah. A social
And
mental
how many
illness.
generations has that been? Because that's the thing is we have to start with first empowering parents.
Yeah.
And so we have to look at what do parents not know? Because there's a
Wow.
lot of
Somebody
things-
took their hair down. Woo.
She's
Talk
getting-
about fire.
She's getting
Hello.
spicy now.
Yeah.
My goodness. Look at that mane. I'm sorry. I got one of these. I was like, was this a L'Oreal commercial? Dang,
Well,
Brooke. Okay, carry on. You two are sassy and sparkly. I love it.
Well,
it's-
I love this conversation around the family because one of the ways that we have to engage with legislators is called the family lobby. And it's really, really simple. You write a card to them and everybody in the family signs it with a picture of your family to your elected officials. And
I love that.
my kids all did it. They signed it. And the response I got was amazing. My state school board member came and he says, I love that letter that you sent to me. And I was like, what letter? I was so dumb. But I was teaching my kids that even if you don't agree with your elected official, you have to build relationships with them, because when there are these key issues that come, you need to be able to have a relationship to talk with them, and there need to be positive things. It's not just about yelling at them or whatever. They're in service, they're serving us, and forming those relationships will help us be better represented. And it is the whole family. It's the picture of the mom, the dad, the kids. They sign it. They know they're a part of it, and they feel that too. So this engagement.
If I could, I'm sorry. Adding a face. You're not a number. You're
Yeah.
a family. And I
Mhm.
think about this with our Senate and our Congress, and I think sending your family, your young men, your young women, before they make an act like, oh, let's put boots on the ground in this country or this country, you're looking at a face that you're willing to risk their life in battle before coming up with something that's not going to take us to war and things like that. I think that has an impact that's probably, I never even thought to do that.
Yeah. Well, and they also, I mean, they're going to represent who contacts them most, you know? So, I mean, Chuck Schumer, when Satan calls him up, he's going to represent him. He's going to come forward and bring the heavy, you know, and Nadler is going to do like Beelzebub. But I digress.
Weird. You digress?
No, that's a good idea. Lobbying shouldn't be this pay for play system. It should be when you reach out to your representative, you are lobbying them. It just got that name because Grant was a crook. But lobbying, that is what you're doing. And if everyone, like Celeste Malloy, she'll be here on Monday with us, and I'm excited to chat with her. And we haven't always agreed, but by that communication with her, I know that even if she makes a vote that I may not agree with, I know she's picked it apart and done her
We're in her mind.
weighing of the scales. And then she thinks to myself, I'm going to have to talk to Jared soon, and he's going to give me a rash of crap.
Yeah.
And he's going to make, make some crass joke. Oh, here we go.
Well, you make them accountable to you when you're looking into their eyes and they see that every vote they make has an impact that is hurting us or helping us, and which side are they on? And there's a moral impact. We're not fighting bad and good. We're fighting good and evil. And in this timeline where we are in this moment, we're empowering our children not just to survive in society, but to be leaders and to be morally equipped people so that we have a constitution that will survive.
Exactly.
Because there's no point of it if they're not moral.
Yes. And so each time I contact my reps, there's a note-taking system in the app. Like I contact them. So I make it a point to go up to my legislators, shake their hand, and look them in the eye so they remember my face as well as the notes that I send them. And I'm like, and he said, well, why didn't you tell me this 2 months ago? And I said, I did on this date, and this date. And I have it in there. So yeah.
Ooh, that's bringing the heat.
Oh, this app is incredible. I mean, I've got actual direct access to these. And did all of these legislators sign up to be part of this? Or does this just go to their office when I write the note?
Yeah, it just goes to their office. Well, you put it in, that's your own note to yourself.
So cool.
But then,
just think about that. So when they walk away, do they limp when you bring the heavy like that? I mean, that's smarts. That's, that's like you took the glove off. I call you out, sir.
well, yeah, that's what hairdressers are smart enough to do that, right? They keep notes. They know how many kids you have. They know, if you lost your job, and then they bring up that conversation based on their notes. And so, if we're as smart as hairdressers,
I wouldn't know.
We call them therapists.
I'm not allowed to go to a hairdresser because I have no hair. You keep bringing this hair thing in.
Can I just add really fast that Jamie Renda says Brooke has beautiful hair.
Yes.
Matthew asked, how do you distribute the funds for hurricane relief? Just curious. And you're going through Mercury One. Is that right?
Mercury One.
So it's not funds that we're doing. We're actually collecting clothing. We're collecting saws. We're collecting
goods.
We're trying to fill an entire semi.
Yeah,
in 5 days.
Mercury One is Glenn Beck's kind of nonprofit program, and he's been down there Mercury One's been doing a lot of the helicopter rescues and drops, and also getting shut down by local governments.
And they're 100% donation. So they're having their event any day now where they raise money for administrative costs separate, but everything you donate is completely right off, and it's also completely distributed. So Mercury One is an excellent organization. And Jamie Renda said funds work too.
Yes. She also asked, has Matt Hymas already been on, or is he next? He's already been on. So Jamie, when we're done talking to these two lovely ladies, you're going to have to rewind it and watch the beginning. We chatted with Matt. And then if you have any questions about Matt's competition in this race, we chatted with her last weekend. It was a good conversation. May not be politically aligned, but still, I think
She's
a good
a
person.
great person. And Matt Hymas is our incumbent, so he is running for another term.
We
under
drag
the
him on
GOP
here every
ticket.
chance we get.
And he's highly engaged. Like he'll come on anytime. Like Celeste, like we can ask him all the time, like, hey, why this, why this, why this? And he's been totally transparent that I found. And when he first came on the show the very first time, before I was part of the show, I was asking questions, comments. I mean, he hadn't won yet. I was just going through the ringer with him. I was so impressed with his whole thing.
Yep.
Now he's also highly family motivated and believes that the parent education relationship is so important. And
he comes at education the opposite way of your average Democrat, where the Democrat thinks government is the primary party in education, where any thinking human being that doesn't have Satan on speed dial recognizes that a secure family is the primary for any bit of success in any part of life.
And sadly, our kids, guys, our kids are not given the opportunity to have two parents in the household, and life happens, and you have single moms and single dads, and these kids are missing out on this unity and this stuff. And it's nice as a community, as a village, we can be there for each other in the event that a child doesn't have a female in the household or a dad in the household. And I think that groups like this, like what you're doing, you're empowering women who might not have, the ability to do.
The difference is that young women especially are being taught that they don't need a man.
It's
right?
true.
I don't know if you recently saw the Dudes for Kamala video, right? But when you see those guys,
tell me more about this. Dudes for Kamala.
Trump said, don't worry, those dudes aren't going to vote for me, but their wives and their wives' lovers will.
Well, let me lay it out. There's a couple of guys who tracked down who all those dudes were.
Right, there's that.
They're all failing bid actors right now. None of them they're all from LA. They're all a part of the same what do they call it? Active group
OnlyFans?
that
Yeah.
no, because OnlyFans, they would be
They
at least showing some kind of success. They're all part of the same. What do you call it? You got the representative. Kind of the same. They have the same representative that shops them out, and they're none of them are dudes. They're all voting for Kamala. Yeah, I don't know. You can rent a ranch and stand any moron out there in bib overalls and tell him to say he eats carburetors for breakfast. He doesn't know what a carburetor is.
Those guys are more manly, though, I would have to say. And actually, you're talking about our young girls and feminism, right?
Yes,
they don't understand that it means that you believe women have equal rights. That's feminism. They've turned it into a dirty word where you hate men.
That, honoring the role of family. So right now what they're teaching is that, not everyone's teaching this, but I don't know if you've seen some of the Attorney General's warning that parenting is the biggest threat, right? So
it is to their overpower. It's just like they want to murder the First Amendment because that is the threat to them. Hillary Clinton.
It's stress. It stresses them out. And so parents don't, they shouldn't parent. They should put their kids into institutions as soon as possible, i.e. daycare, early childhood care, super early, right?
And they put parents on the terror watch list, domestic terrorism watch list early on in the administration because they were arguing against their school board.
Yes.
A fundamental thing that we do when you trust someone with your kid 8 hours a day and your kid comes home with some social mental illness that they didn't leave your house with, but they're coming home with it. And it is a broken system. It's fractured.
It's like we wrote a book on how to tell if your government has grown too large.
Right.
Or if you wanted to destroy the country, what would you do different than what they're doing right now?
What would I do different?
Because what they're doing right now is that track to destroy the family. Well, first, get God out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Then you destroy the family.
Mm-hmm.
Then you institutionalize
Mhm.
The children, you create small little soldiers out of them who worship at the altar of climate change and government.
Yes.
And then they're not free thinkers.
No.
There's no free thinkers, and
they
get
also have
away
no
from your
ambition.
parents. Exactly.
They also have no ambition. I've watched a couple of kids who've turned in assignments and gotten them marked down because they went above and beyond. And what happens if you go above and beyond because you're
Cari,
excited
can we
about
get you to
something?
try to turn your mic up?
Sorry, maybe. Is
I
this
can
it?
turn her up on this end. Let's see if
Am
that
I
helps.
better here?
Yeah.
Yep, that's better.
Okay. So I'm watching some children who are turning in assignments and then they're being punished for going above and beyond. That kills ambition.
Who's punishing them?
Well, they're getting lower grades.
Really?
So yes,
So you
they're getting,
kill
I
the
mean,
individual spirit. You kill the
you kill
individual.
absolutely. And so we need to build that up. And I believe that the way that we build that up is to rebuild communities. You know, so much of our socialization is on social media. And who knows? I know right before this, I tried to share an interview with Trump, and he was talking to a black man, and I couldn't share it, and I tried 3 times. So we need to build communities in case that gets worse. We need to
Right.
rebuild. We need to re-talk to our neighbors. We need to re-get our children into going outside and being social. We need to rebuild. One of the things that I thought about when I decided to join Moms for America is how many moms get on social media. Maybe they get into some community group and they think, "Oh, I need new friends." And they do read things. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I've seen things that say conservatives need not apply.
I've seen
Oh
it.
yeah. Oh yeah.
You know?
And
And-
I'm that's good. You've told me where you stand, and I don't need to see your armpit hair. Anyways, I just want to say, let's talk about when you say there's been an attack on family. There has been an open attack on men. How's the Boy Scouts doing nowadays? Anybody know?
We're not
Yeah, I just-
biologists. We don't know if they're Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anywhere that was the
right.
feminist movement, anywhere that has been laid out, this is where men are going to go to grow.
Right.
They have been openly assaulted, and it's gone now.
Can I fight back here? Or Brooke, you want to go first? And then I'll fight
Yeah,
back on that one.
So with my sons, I've made it a point to point out all of these movies that are making men look like idiots.
Oh
There's
boy,
actually
your finger's gonna fall right off your hand and
No,
wear out.
You're right on.
It's gonna
you're
be
right
all
on.
dry. You're gonna have to lotion that bad
Let her
boys.
finish.
Yeah.
We gotta
it
finish.
makes me so upset that my boys, and I'm like, men are doing the most dangerous jobs in the world. They're building our structures. They're fighting in our armies. They're farming our land. Like, they are so essential to our society, and trying to rebuild that. The men's rights movement is actually amazing. The men who stand up and hold the it's called the red pill, or I forget what the movie is called, but this woman did it on the men's rights
Yeah, the
movement.
red pill movie.
Yeah,
Oh,
and so
Julie
she's
Collar.
standing up there with the microphone, and he's trying to talk about how difficult it is to be a man. And I love that his microphone is shaking. And I point that out to my boys, and I'm like, this man is so brave to say that men need to have a voice. They've been derided and made fun of for saying these things. And so they've backed off because of the third wave of feminism that is destroying families. And so to really empower the boys in my family and tell them how essential their place is, and I think it's vital. It's in the home,
Absolutely.
and those teachings. And that's why I love Moms for America, because in Hawaii, the queen outlawed the hula 20 years late because it was pagan. 20 years later, the king of Hawaii came back, and he's like, I traveled the world, and people are teaching their history through art and culture. What's our way? We have the hula. Go find out if anybody knows how to do the hula anymore. Come to find out, the mothers for the last 20 years had been teaching their children the hula. They all knew it because they'd been teaching it in the home. And that's why, Moms for America has this curriculum so that we are teaching it heart to our children to know what their history is, because it's being vilified.
Yeah.
Our noble history is being vilified, and they don't have this. So when you teach it in the home, heart to heart with this material, it's when your kids grow up being proud being male, being proud being American, and all those things are being targeted. So it's really up to the moms to get in there and say, hey guys, we're just going to have a lesson right after dinner. We're going to talk about this, and I'm going to tell you how vital you are to our society and how our founders made sure that all of us can have a voice. And this is what it really looks like. And it was hard to do, but they worked through it and made it happen.
And can I just say, those founders were 19, 20, 23, 25. They were the
And
young
54 and a
generation.
womanizer.
They were the young generation that was so strong that they did this. Can you imagine any of our young people right now creating a government that would sustain itself in the experiment for over 250 years? I mean, it's definitely divine intervention, I believe, but teaching our young people and doing it alongside dad, who is living by example, who is taking care of the home, protecting mom and children, making sure that he's showing good principles and being the leader of the family. That right there, you're absolutely right. That's probably the scariest thing to the people who want to destroy this country.
Can I say something about that? Because I went to scout camp with the boys in August, and yes, for sure they are under attack. There were young scout leaders who were. These boys would paint their nails the pride colors, and they would lift them up, and they would be like, "How do you like having a queer leader?" and trying to have those generative conversations with our boys. But here's the thing: this is our institution. It's sort of like the fact that we have a rainbow that we believe was God gave it to us, right? So these are our institutions. And if we lay down and say, oh, that's fine, we can't fight anymore, we can't stand up anymore, we will lose them. We will lose our beautiful campgrounds that these boys are learning how to be strong and to climb mountains on. We will lose things if we don't have just the conviction that they're ours, just like our country. Our country is ours, and we have to stand up. We have to say, enough is enough. We're going to stand for truth, and it may be hard, and people may say, oh, you're evil, you're right wing, you're a Nazi, whatever they're going to say. But we have to stand up, and the more that we stand for truth, first off, the more one person stands for truth, then somebody else will join them, and then somebody else. And that's really the goal here. That is the goal with Moms for America. Is that in my little county, I've got some women who are like, well, what are you going to do after this campaign? I'm going to do this. And I've gathered all of them, and I've looked at their strengths, and I've said, you could do this, and you could do this. And, then we're going to spread that around across the state. So when you first were talking, you were saying, well, she's in Utah County, but our goal is not to I want us in every single county by the end of the year. I want people who are ready to stand up. Moms who are saying, I know it's my time to lead, and I know I have to do it, because if we don't do it, what are we leaving for our children? We can't be cowards anymore. We can't be afraid of what people are going to say to us, because it's the world our children are living in.
There was a guest recently on Tucker Carlson who talked about the mental illness our country's going to go through when Trump wins, hopefully. And that we don't know what it's going to look like. It'll be lashing out on a scale that we can't even fathom. They're going to need so much mental support because of the loss of the election. And
all the memes will be sweet, though.
That right there is why moms need to be empowered now, because they have to be able to tell their kids it's going to be okay. Everything's fine. We are the people who decide this government, not the other way around. We have to educate our kids that we're in charge, not the government, and that we can always help out and give a hand up to our neighbor before going to the government for it.
Yeah.
And we have to be prepared the other way too. If we lose,
absolutely,
our children cannot, because they're hearing us. They know how stressed we are. They need
It's
to
so
hear
true.
there's still hope, right? So that's the other reason why we were talking about when to do this launch, and I said it has to be before the election. It has to be before the election, because we've got to put those places in. We've got to be that virtual hug, that virtual place where when people are falling apart and feeling like, oh my gosh, we've lost. And you know, the rhetoric is that if we lose, there's no more America. But we need to remember that the United States, the American spirit, is our spirit. It's
Right.
not necessarily, you know,
Doomsday.
Of course I want Donald Trump to win. Of course, I don't think you could get more anti-Kamala than I am. But
wait, I haven't
in
seen
education.
I haven't seen all your posts on Facebook. Tell me more. No,
We lost Brooke. It looks like.
Yeah, Brooke
Yeah.
Brooke hopped out, and if she jumps back on, we'll bring her back in. But we do have to close the show down.
Yeah,
I just want to go through a couple of comments here.
sure.
Jamie Renda says, Joe Joseph Carey, who is also on our state school board, started Mercury One Foundation with Glenn Beck. Just a local note of our incredible state school board. Outstanding.
That's awesome.
Matt Jones says, good job. Jamie Rend also says, Carrie. Oh, never mind. We read that one already. I just want to say, regardless of whether the sane side wins or not, eventually men will be men again, because either men will be men now and we extend this empire out a little longer, or the weak will take over and men will be men because they're forced to, because the world will get awful hard and ugly. Oh,
Welcome back, Brooke. Did you just
I don't
decide
know
to
why.
drive?
I don't know why it went out.
oh. Well, we're closing up. So, ladies, give us your last little shot.
Yeah, talk about this.
I'm gonna
event.
I'm gonna show the picture of it on screen again.
This is Thursday coming up, you guys, October 24th, and this is an in-person or virtual event.
In person. It's
in American
If
Fork.
you mothers, bring moms to that morning thing. That is the most important thing, because once they hear about Mao, Stalin, Pol Pot, and how they target the children, once you know, you can't not do anything. So we need moms to come to this. We also want to connect with them. And then in the evening, when we say, politicians, listen up, we're bringing you an army. There's no more of a leftist organization that's very organized, standing there and bullying you. We are bringing you an army too. You'll know us by our purple shirts. but we want as many people there as possible. There is a charge. It's $15. That just pays for your lunch. But I tried as hard as I could to make this as the most worthy and impactful thing. I tried to make it in the center of the state so that it would be easy for as many people to come to as possible. I know it's short notice, but
How many people do you expect to be there in attendance? I know it says bring a dessert, invite your representatives, bring a dessert to share. How many people would you bring a dessert for?
we have no idea. The room seats 800.
Okay.
So we have no idea how many people will come. I'll make the order on Tuesday morning. So for catering. But yeah, please come. Please bring your people. And if you are interested, right now you go to www.momsforamerica.us if you have any interest. On the 24th, our website should be launched, and then we'll be doing our onboarding for the state ourselves.
Is that Moms for America with an FOR or the
Yes.
number?
FOR.
And it's a great way to meet your tribe face to face. That's one of the things that I've loved. Well, I've been in this fight for 5 years, and you often feel alone when you're on social media and everything. So to see your friends in person does so much for your spirit, to know you're not alone, to be connecting on the things that you care about. So come in person and meet your tribe, and then we're going to go forth and build that in our communities so you could see them even more often and keep ourselves motivated and knowing that we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, this looks like a tremendous organization. I mean, I love the fact that you guys are so passionate. Cari, I know you're a very passionate person. You are a woman of service, and you do lead by example, which is extraordinary. And
I
Brooke,
begged for Brooke to come on.
It's so nice to meet you, Brooke. And
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
We'd love to have you on again. Hopefully sometime soon, if anything. For me, this is tough because I am a stay-at-home mom, so I get my kids to school, and this is all happening, and I take them to a charter, which is a commuter school. So this is kind of a hard way for me to even get there on time. I know, baffling that I could get anywhere on time.
Show up late.
So how long does it go? It starts, there's an early morning.
So it's from 9 to 2:30, and then there's a break people. Originally, we were thinking about showing Julie Bailing's film, but you could also go. We're in American Forks, so you could go to Lehigh and go enjoy shopping or the Thanksgiving Point exhibit or something, if you are coming from a long ways. And then the evening is 7 to 8:30 at night.
I love the lineup you have. Celeste Malloy, Nicolene Peck, these are women that has inspired me so much. And Nicolene and her involvement with families and the education system, and Celeste is a congresswoman who is so transparent where it comes to engaging with us here in the county. At Tina Cannon, I believe, did I see her on there as well?
Yeah, we dig Tina too. She's
awesome.
We like Tina.
They're not speaking, so Nicolene is, but elected officials are not speaking. We're just talking with them afterwards.
Yeah, well, they're there. I love it.
You're just holding them hostage. I like it.
Pretty much. We're just saying we're watching. So
I love it.
Also, we're supporting. So yeah.
Now, I have to say, anybody that has a chance, make sure you go look at this app, Amplify USA, and Brooke, I hope you will find a way to monetize it in some way. I know you don't want to charge the user and you don't want to sell the information, which I love. But there's probably a lot of people that would love to have advertising on an app like this that gets directly to people with their values. So I could see a difference, there. I got it on the App Store.
I think it'd be awesome.
If you use it, try it, and then rate it. I think that helps get the app out there to people. And my goodness, I'm actually got my dashboard's got all these representatives that represent Tooele County. And then I'm even able to tap into some that don't, just so I can stay ahead of what and who is doing what. I think it's extraordinary. It's it's one of those stupid, smart ideas. I can't believe this didn't exist already.
What if you could
so localized?
What if you could sell just ads that different politicians want to run? So that people in Tooele County see ads of people they'll vote for, and people in Summit County see, and people in LA see ads for their stuff.
Yeah, I think that is eventually where we could go, and then you could pay to not see ads. But I want to make sure I have control over the ads, so it's not crazy stuff popping up, but it's meaningful stuff to users. And so, especially with the town halls, I really want to get people out and helping their legislators even campaign. It's so hard to get people out there. And so doing a blitz and saying, come on, guys, we're going to have donuts, and do 1 hour of just letting your neighbors know we're here. There are a lot of options. And I think, I'm sorry.
Brooke, as a county chair, something like this, where I could say, hey, Brooke, can I announce this event I'm having for my candidates? Can I put this on here? I'll pay you to have it look like an ad that invites people to come out and meet Celeste. This gives me a whole different venue option, and county chairs usually have budgets for, like right now I've got a small budget for my election, and how best am I going to spend money? I want to pinpoint as close as possible to our voters who feel represented by the GOP. I'm sure the Democrats have that same feeling,
Right.
because even Democrats love their kids and are moms.
Yeah.
And I think they could make a huge impact knowing that it's okay to take care of your family and not feel ashamed for realizing its value, regardless of how you vote.
Right. Right. Well, there's a lot more that unifies us than that separates us. And a lot of that is the love for our communities, our families, and our country. And that's where we can stand up together.
So
Yes.
agree.
That's very good. Ladies, thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your efforts and all that you do.
Yeah.
Thank you for fighting this, hopefully, good fight, not doomed fight. It's an uphill battle, believe me.
We can't lose America, not without a fight, right?
Yeah, not without a fight. Thank you so much. I want to give a shout out to mainstreetmediautah.com for everything they do for us. Again, go the different websites, go check out momsforamerica.us. You got Moms for America Action. Look those up. Go to the event. I'd love to see a lot of moms go to the event. Are dads welcome at the event as well?
Yes, come if you can.
All
And
right.
especially influencers, Jared.
I am not one of that.
Kind of.
Bad influencers?
You don't
'Cause
want
he's
me.
a bad influence
You
on a
don't
lot
want
of
me
things.
influencing. But yes, I if I can break away, I'll definitely come to that because
Great.
you had me at lunch. Anyways, Cari, thank you so much, and
Give our
we'll
best to
we'll
Adam.
definitely talk again. And Adam, have a good night, you handsome bugger. And yes, we will see you guys soon.
Thank you,
Sounds great.
Carrie.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, guys.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, everyone, thanks for joining us. I had a lot of fun tonight. Good conversation.
I'm really, really excited about this. I don't know that I could be there on the 24th.
Maybe
which
I'll
makes
wear a
me
blonde
sad,
wig and some
but
patriotic high heels.
I'm certainly gonna look into this. I know that there is a movement now that these type of organizations don't happen because women are bored and want something to do. These happen because we feel desperate and we start talking about that feeling of desperation, and all of a sudden we realize we're not alone in that feeling, and we find out that yes, we will agree with our neighbors. When we sit down with our neighbors 80% of the time, regardless of what the media deems us as, we're not in these boxes of perfection, and we are in a world where we're not holding our men up, and if we are, we're made fun of. We're called, we're pick-me's or
holding men up. It's worse than that. You've got to be actively trying to tear them down. That's the goal right now with the average parts of society, is destroying that. Now, I'm past that age. I'm an old man, crusty, so it doesn't matter. It's these young men right now that are dealing with it.
It's
But
true. It's
anyways,
true. And we need to be good examples to our young men. And we need the men who are dads and fathers to know that it's okay to be the protector. It's okay to be the breadwinner. And it's okay to have an intact family. And it takes a lot of sacrifice
it's
to
not
have
even
that.
okay. It's almost mandatory.
It's true. And if you're a religious person, the father should be leading the home in religion and being an example to their kids. And if you're not a religious person, he should be the pillar and the mom is the surrounder. So it's
The father's the protector, the mother's the nurturer. That's it. It's that simple. Everyone, please like, share, subscribe, and all the things. I guess comment. If you have questions, comment, please. I'm very grateful for the comments that's been showing up after the shows on YouTube, where people ask me a question or make a comment. I respond to every one of them until if we ever become popular and 1,000 roll in, I don't type very fast. Holly will start responding.
Yeah, well, and I'm excited because Monday we're doing a special show.
Yep.
So please tune in Monday where Celeste Malloy will be on. We are going to kick off the show at 6.
Yep.
And we're going to have her on at 6:30. So
Yep. Ask her questions.
yeah,
You know, maybe by then we'll have the live call-ins back on, but until then we'll have the live. Jared will read your comments and questions, and if you want them done in a voice, just type the voice in first. You know, remember,
really?
I only
You do
have
requests.
2 or 3 different voices that I do well, and I'll fumble through the
Are you
rest.
holding back on me? We've been doing this for this long, and I find out you can do voices.
Everyone, have a good night. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. For those of you that kick off your deer hunt tomorrow here in the great state of Utah, I wish you a happy harvest. For
Safe.
those of us who don't get to deer hunt this year, I wish you a happy chucker harvest, because that's what is in my freezer and future.
And for my part, I would like you all to fill out your ballots. Let's bank your vote. Do it early and go to their local drop box. The county clerk's office, Tooele County Clerk, for those of you in Tooele County, has a whole list of your ballot drop-off locations. Bank your vote now. It'll make it so much easier to get real numbers on election evening. And we just want to make sure that, you know, reach out to Tooele County Republican Party on Facebook if you have any questions. If you're a member of the GOP, there's a Democratic Party on Facebook as well for Tooele County.
Doesn't matter what party you're part of. If you have questions, get a hold of Tracy. She has all the answers. She is as honest and squared away human being as anybody could ask for. We are the luckiest county on earth.
It's true. And for safe and secure elections, we are in a great spot. Utah is in a great spot, thanks to Tracy and her diligence.
Tracy
and
did
her
some stuff.
staff.
I still want to do a show about it. But anyways, we got to cut you guys loose.